shit look dumb shit. It's your baby neighbor. It's your baby neighbor. It's your baby neighbor. It's your baby. It's your baby neighbor. Ew. Ew. Look at this. Look at this. Look. Ew. Peace, neighbors. Yo, what's poppin' with the population, man? It's your favorite neighbor, Dayron, aka Neighborhood. Y'all know the plethora of names by now. Welcome back to the greatest More Life show on the planet. As you guys can see, we back outside with it, get into it. And today I'm pruning some branches off this tree. For some of you guys who weren't able to put a name to the fruit I was showing you earlier on in the episode, the name of this tree that I'm pruning and that I showed you the fruit that's bearing off this tree that I'm pruning is called the jackfruit tree, or as I like to call, the also versatile jackfruit tree. It's very versatile, especially in the plant-based world. There's many dishes you can create out of this beautiful fruit. When you're making cooked dishes with it, it's best to eat it underripe, because when it's ripe, it has a very distinct and very unique taste that will take away from whatever dish you prepare with it. But when it's underripe, and you soak it in a broth, it has a very nice texture, and also the taste of it is very neutral, so you can create any type of flavor or any dish with this fruit. From sandwiches, like pulled pork sandwiches, to you can make some type of mock fish sandwiches with it, like fish nuggets or fish sandwiches with it. Tuna sandwiches, or you can make a tuna with it. You can make so many different plant-based dishes with it. Like, you could just do your Googles, man, and you'll see a whole bunch of plant-based recipes come up with utilizing the jackfruit. You feel me? It's just amazing. And when it's ripe, it has like I said, it has a very unique taste. Has such a unique taste, and I'm pretty sure all of us have tried the jackfruit without actually trying the physical fruit, from the flavoring that they mimicked off of a very popular candy that I'm pretty sure a lot of us grew up off of. And that candy is none other than juicy fruit. Yes, if you had juicy fruit any point in your life, you've tried, or at least tried a hint of what it tastes like trying a jackfruit. They basically took that flavor from the jackfruit and used it to make that unique juicy fruit flavor. There's definitely a difference, because the juicy fruit gum has more additives to it, so obviously it's not gonna 100% taste exactly like the jackfruit, but there's definitely a lot of correlation or similarities in the flavors. You know what I'm saying? And that's because that's where they got that flavor from. That's just a neighborhood fact for today. I'm pruning some branches off this tree, and if you guys were wondering if the title of this episode was clickbait, I'm here to tell you it is not clickbait. I will be cutting this tree down at some point in the near future. And when I say near future, I don't mean in the next 15 years. I don't mean in the next 10 years. I don't even mean in the next 5 years. I literally mean in the next year and a half to 2 years, I will be cutting this tree down. And I know, neighbors, I know. Why would I want to cut down a tree that seems like it's bearing a lot of fruit? Yes, it is bearing a lot of fruit. But a lot of the fruit that has bared off the tree, which it has bared somewhere upward to like 20 to 30 jackfruits. But the fruit hasn't matured to the point where I could harvest the fruit off the tree. It's only gotten to about this size right here, or a little bit bigger than this, and the problem occurs. And I'm going to get into that problem. But before I get into that problem, make sure to do your neighborhood due diligence. Y'all know what the neighborhood due diligence is by now. And if you don't, the neighborhood due diligence is to get this episode a like. Make sure to comment neighborhood. Let your favorite neighbor feel that overall energy in the comments below. You know what I mean? Show some love. And if you haven't already, man, subscribe to the neighborhood so we can continue to grow this neighborhood one neighbor at a time. You feel me? Now, the fruit only gets about this big, and then a problem occurs. The overall reasoning for this problem is one reason, and it's not because I planted this tree in bad soil. It's not because I planted a bad seed. It's simply because of one problem. And that problem is simply because of spacing. Simply because of spacing. Why is spacing a big problem, and why is that having a trickle effect on it producing bad fruit, or for the fruit not maturing on the tree? It's the spacing is playing a big part simply because the fruit is not getting proper air circulation or a direct pathway to get sunlight to directly hit the fruit. And why is that important? Because it needs that direct sunlight, and it needs air circulation to air dry the fruit or sun dry the fruit. And if it doesn't, what happens is when it's at a young stage like this, one is very susceptible to mold because it builds up moisture easily on the fruit when it's at this size or a little bit bigger than this size. You know, what happens is every morning moisture builds up from the grass and precipitation and all that shit like that. At this stage, you don't have that rough, rigid like texture that we're used to seeing a jackfruit have. When it's young, very young, and first bearing on the tree, it has this very smooth, spongy-like texture to it. Easily builds up moisture on it. When that moisture builds up and it doesn't properly air dry or sun dry, mold will start to occur on the fruit. The mold takes over just like this. This is a fruit that fell off the tree not too long ago. And what happens is mold will build up around it, and it'll start to shrivel up, and eventually it will fall off the tree. Look how much mold has just built up on it, and it starts to shrivel up and it just eventually falls. It's gotten to the point where so much fruit has gone to waste off this tree that like I became a pro at spotting out which fruits are going to fall to the mold. You know what I'm saying? Which fruits are going to get moldy, or which fruits are going to have so much moisture built up on the outside of it that before it even gets to that point where mold starts to build up on it, I just pluck it off, you know what I'm saying? And allow it to, feed the soil, you feel me? But that's basically the problem that I've been having, you know what I mean? And that's all because of spacing. Location that I put this tree wasn't the best location, but it was the best of what I had. Actually, the other spot that I could have put it was a better spot as far as like not being surrounded by so many trees, but it was too close to the house, and I didn't want to put a tree that would get this big that close to the house. So that's why I didn't plant that over there. Now, I did know that it was a bad spot to plant this tree. I just didn't know I was gonna encounter this problem. The only problem that I was gonna have as far as like along the lines of spacing that I thought I was gonna have was that I thought that this tree was gonna get so big it was going to be too close to the other trees that are surrounding it. And the trees that is surrounding it is on to the right side of me. I don't know if you guys can see me clearly, but right here you have two soursop trees that are growing and getting bigger by the day. They're becoming very well established, and they're just continuously getting bigger, and they're becoming very much more abundant. You feel me? I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a lot of fruit that's starting to bearing on the soursop, these two soursop trees. So on the right of me, you have two soursop trees, and on the left of me, you have here a mango tree. This is a mango tree that's becoming very well established. It's actually the older out of all these trees that I just showed you. And I don't know if you guys can see, but it's becoming more abundant. You can see some of the mango that's growing on it. And behind me, there's an avocado tree that the neighbor has that actually is coming over our yard as well. That's the trees that I placed it in between, and it just wasn't a good idea. And honestly, like I said, I didn't know that I was gonna encounter a problem where it fruits, but it's not maturing on the tree to the point where I could harvest it. I thought I was just gonna have a problem to the point where, eventually all these trees are gonna get so big that it's gonna be no space. You feel me? But that's the reason why, it's not getting proper air circulation or direct sunlight hitting it. And it's really a jackfruit problem, to be honest. None of the other trees are really suffering from this problem. Like the mangoes are growing pretty well, and the soursop is growing pretty well. But like I said, the jackfruit, when it first bears on the tree, it's very susceptible to moisture buildup on it. It soaks up moisture very easily, and if it doesn't properly dry, then you have that mold buildup problem on it. I mean, it's not about what you plant, it's about how you plant them. I'm not saying you can't have any and everything in your food forest. I'm just saying make sure you're planting the right things when you're planting any and everything. Put that into your creative process when you're curating this food forest. You know what I'm saying? So that you don't encounter a problem where 20 years from now you're gonna have to cut down most of them trees because they're not still producing viable fruit. Again, neighbors, I'm not trying to turn your food forest dreams into this one big think piece where you're overthinking it, but I want you to be more intentional and more thought out about how you're going to create and bring together this food forest. Just think about it. God was very intentional when he created nature. He didn't just throw shit in nature and was like, oh well, no, he was very intentional. To the point where if anything in nature that's naturally in nature gets removed, it has a very great effect on the whole ecosystem, the whole food chain. You feel me? You know what I mean? And it could be the littlest thing. It could be as little as an ant. If there's no more ants in nature, that would be a very great. You would feel that. You know what I'm saying? We would feel that. You know what I'm saying? If there was none, if there was none of a certain animal that eats a certain animal, then you'll have too much of one animal, and that one animal will probably eat up all the vegetation. If you have no more vegetation, what would that do to nature? How would nature look? You know, God was very intentional about how he created nature. You know what I'm saying? God was very well thought out when he created nature, because if you think about it, just go inside nature, experience nature, you're gonna see how much it makes sense, how much nature makes sense, how well thought out it just is, how much in unison everything in nature is. You know, the natural balance, the natural order in nature. That didn't just appear. That was well thought out. So I bring that up to say, you see how intentional God is with nature? You should be the same way with your dream food forest, neighbors. Don't just be planting shit hoping it sticks, because you're going to feel the after effects of that later on down the line. That was the whole reason why I wanted to show you this, me pruning this tree, and just give you that insight on what I was dealing with, or the after effects of what I was dealing with from me planting this tree where I planted it, specifically speaking, the jackfruit tree. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, a fruit is appearing on the tree. It's doing very well. It's doing numbers. Shouts out to Larry Jr. It's been raining this past couple of days, so I haven't been really coming outside to check on the plants. Bro, I swear, it seems like this jackfruit just grows like an inch every day, bro. I promise you. It's just getting bigger and bigger, man. It just looks so beautiful. You know, it's looking very healthy, green. It smells good. You know what I mean? It's not as fragrant right now, but yeah, it's not as fragrant right now, but it does. It's still, you can still smell a hint of that jackfruit. It doesn't start to get fragrant until it gets like to the point where it's about to start ripening on the tree. That's all I wanted to show you guys today. I wanted to show you me pruning the tree, and I also want to highlight the importance of spacing when creating your food forest, neighbors. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but don't just plant any and everything next to each other. Plant the right things next to each other. And don't misconstrue what I'm saying to saying you can't plant any and everything. I'm just saying know what to plant next to each other when you're planting any and everything. Again, I'm going to go down the list. You could plant a banana patch next to an avocado tree. You could plant an avocado tree next to a soursop tree. You could plant mangoes next to a soursop tree. You probably can't plant a jackfruit in between a whole bunch of trees like a soursop, a mango, and an avocado tree, because all those trees are going to tower over each other. You know what I'm saying? You want to put a little bit of distance between the trees so it could get proper air circulation and direct sunlight hitting the fruit and the tree in general. Because remember, trees grow up to the sun because they like to get that energy from the sun. And if it's not getting any sun, you're going to see the effect that no sunlight is going to have on your trees, either in the now or in the later. You know what I'm saying? So Take that into account, neighbors, when creating your food forest. Spacing, 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 spacing. That's the most important thing when it comes to your food forest. Doesn't mean you can't plant any and everything, just means space your things out. But yeah, neighbors, that's the only reason why I'm going to be cutting this tree down, is simply because of spacing, and it's not getting proper air circulation nor direct sunlight. And when trees don't get direct sunlight, especially tropical trees, they're gonna start to. That's when you have a tree growing very tall. Because if you have all this competition of trees going around it, and and all these trees around it are taking up all the sunlight, you're gonna force the tree to grow upwards more quickly, and it's not gonna grow as wide. It's gonna grow upward. You feel me? It's gonna grow where the sun is. You feel me? Especially the tropical fruit-bearing trees. It's basically what it's doing. If I were to point you at the direction of this tree from afar, you could see that the jackfruit is becoming the tallest tree out of all these trees, even though it's the youngest tree. That's really the only problem that we're having with this tree, is the mold is building up on the fruit. Some of you guys may be asking the question, why haven't I cut this tree down yet? The only reason why I haven't cut this tree down is I've just had faith of a mustard seed that I'm going to be able to harvest at least one fruit. And my goal is to harvest one fruit and take the offspring or the seeds of that fruit and, you know, grow more trees. Now, I do have other trees growing, neighbors. So I don't want you guys to think that I don't have other jackfruit trees growing. There's a tree here, 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 here. That's just the trees that I have growing over here in this area. I also have other jackfruit trees going on the whole other side of the yard. So I have backup jackfruit just in case. But I grew all those trees from seeds from a fruit that I've gotten from the farmer's market. But there's no greater feeling than harvesting offspring or seeds from a fruit off a tree that you've grown and planted in the ground yourself. You feel me? There's no better feeling, than continuing on the lineage of the tree that you have, of the parent tree that you have growing in the ground. You feel me? There's no better feeling. That's what's kept me from cutting this tree down. So far, I just have faith of a mustard seed that I can at least harvest one fruit off this tree. And in me having that strong faith, when I decided to finally prune some branches off this tree and free up a pathway for direct sunlight to hit the fruit, this one fruit that you see here, I've seen immediate results. And the immediate results is that this fruit is getting bigger and bigger. This is looking like the golden fruit right here. This is looking like the fruit that's going to allow me to finally cut down this tree. That patience or that faith that was once about the size of a mustard seed is now about the size of the sun. You feel me? Because now I got a jackfruit that's literally gotten the biggest that I've seen a jackfruit get on this tree, and every couple of days it seems like it's getting bigger and bigger. I think that I'll be able to harvest this jackfruit within the next 3 to 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. But that's why I said I won't be waiting about 3 to 5 years or longer to cut down this tree. I'll literally probably be waiting another year until I cut down this tree. Maybe sooner, maybe a little bit later, but it's all depending on how big this fruit gets and if it's a viable fruit. So, we just we having patience, you heard, but I think we're gonna get there, neighbors. And this is just this is a bigger lesson, neighbors. It's not even just about the jackfruit tree. I did want to update you guys on this, how this tree is doing. It's a bigger lesson for those of you who envision a food forest or have a dream food forest in mind. You know what I'm saying? It happens to be that, when a jackfruit first starts to bear fruit, that it's very, very sensitive to moisture. But, soursops, they're not as sensitive to moisture. I'm not saying you can't plant the jackfruit next to anything. When you're planting it, make sure you have proper spacing in between other trees that you're planting next to it. Now, neighbors, just to give you guys an example of what I mean about like trees dominating the other. Like, for example, I want to show you because you probably can't see it clearly, but my neighbors in the back of their yard, they have 2 mango trees. Very mature mango trees. One is very much older than the other one. And You could tell it is because it's just way bigger and it's just like kind of towering over the other one. The other one is about a medium sized one. I don't know if you guys can see it, but look, right here you got a little medium sized one, and behind it you got, which you probably can't see, but you got like a much bigger one. And what's happening is, the other one is kind of towering over that smaller one, and it's taking up all the sunlight. I'm pretty sure it's taking up all the water down below where the roots are. It's taking up all the water and so forth, and it's just losing on all sides. You know what I'm saying? It's not getting the proper amount of sunlight that it needs to get, and the sunlight serves as the energy force. It's what gives the tree energy to create its own food. You feel me? The photosynthesis process. The bigger tree is just full on dominating the other tree, and you can see it because the fruit production of the smaller tree is just very, very, very inconsistent. Like, it didn't fruit last year, it didn't fruit the year before that. It just fruits every so often just because of the situation it's in. And that's what I mean by making sure you're planting the right things next to each other. Like, when you're planting two trees that could get possibly very big, you want to put some feet in between them, so that when they get older, it doesn't become a problem. You don't have just one dominating the other. That's what I mean. When you guys are creating your food forest, your dream food forest, you don't want to just plant any and everything next to each other. That doesn't mean you can't plant any and everything. That just means plant the right things next to each other. And make sure if you do plant any and everything next to each other, make sure they're some ways apart from each other. So later on down the line, when these trees get older, when they get bigger, when they grow taller, wider, it doesn't become a problem and one is not dominating the other. You want to have a food forest that is in unison with each other, where each and every fruit bearing tree and plant in this food forest is benefiting from each other. It's a give and take relationship. It's not just one tree thriving and the other ones are just on the decline. Because what's going to happen is, neighbors, later on, you're going to have this one tree dominating all the other ones. And ones that are getting dominated, they're going to get to a certain point, a certain size, and the fruit production is not going to match the size, and you're going to eventually come to the decision that you want to just finally cut the tree. And by the time you decide to cut the tree, it's going to be so big, now you got to get a professional to cut it. Now you got to go into the bank account and get $10,000 to $15,000 to get a professional to cut it, or you got to go up there yourself and cut it. And now you're gonna be liable to hurt yourself because you never cut a tree this big before. So you may cut it the wrong way. You may knock a branch over and it may knock over another tree, or you may knock over a branch that may knock over the branch that you're on, or knock over the ladder that you're standing on. That's going to have you slamming the pavement or hitting the fence and so forth. So to not encounter all those problems, make sure you're planting the right things next to each other and not just any and every. I don't think the camera is doing this jackfruit any justice as far as like how big it looks, but just to give you guys a slight comparison how big it is, it's bigger than my hand, let alone both of my hands put together. You feel me? It's about the size of two avocados, like bigger avocados. And just to give you a better comparison, look at this fruit that I pulled off the tree compared to it. Look at that size difference, So the camera doesn't really do it no justice, but this jackfruit is getting huge, bro. And I'm super, super excited for it. I'm here for it, neighbors. I'm so excited for it. You feel me? Can't wait. So with that being said, man, let's get outside. Let's get to growing so our health could get to glowing. Man, do y'all neighborhood due diligence if y'all haven't already. You know what I'm saying? Get this episode a like. Make sure to comment neighborhood, or show some overall love in the comments below. If you want to go check out the inventory, make sure to go hit that link in the comments below. In the description below, because that is the link to my online plant nursery. In that online plant nursery, I have a collection of fruit bearing trees that I grow from seed. I'm getting into grafted trees, especially with the mangoes. I will be selling seasonal fruits, seasonal herbs, and also I do have seeds now, but my collection of seeds is going to start growing, as I continue to, entrench myself in this life, you heard? So make sure to hit that link, Check out the inventory. And make sure to go follow me on my socials at neighborhoodnature_, so you can stay up to date with everything going on in the neighborhood. You feel me? Not with just the YouTube, but also on my socials. I show more raw things on my socials. Let's get to it to get through it, man. Y'all already know the neighborhood mainstay motto. It's like a pledge to the neighborhood by now. You know, put your hands on your chest and repeat after me. Grow your own / support true righteous local growers like myself, or continue to rely on a broken system to supply you their own. And we all know what their own comes with, neighbor. Fake food, dis-ease, GMO, list goes on. Disconnection, unalignment, we all know by now. Ain't much more to state. We all know at this point you being ignorantly blissed if you continuously follow the system. With that being said, peace, love, light, much healing energy to you and yours. It's your favorite neighbor, Dayron. See you on the next one. You dig?